First, let's pledge allegiance to the flag before we get started. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everybody. Someone like to make a motion for the notice of the proposed tax rate for the special school district of St. Louis County. It's just pure information.
Yes.
Great. Is there any comments on this? Discussion? Any discussion from the audience? All right. So if it's informational, we don't even vote. Someone like to make a motion to adjourn? That's true. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, let's start the second meeting. Okay, can I have a attendance roll call, please? Just a second. 2 minutes.
Director Asner? Director Byers? Here. Director Faulkner?
Here.
Director Hudson? Director Mueller? Here. Vice President Petroff? Here. President Cuneo?
Here. All right. Our first on the agenda will be the Missouri Retired Teachers Association mini grant planners. Please come up, please. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
We come in force. we have a lot of people. Your grant winner. Mike, you want to comment? Okay. We represent 2 regions of Missouri retired teachers. Irma is the vice president of Region 14, the grant winners from Region 14. She is an SSD teacher. We also have the foundation board member, and she is in charge of this money. We like to have her along to say where our money is going, her money is going. Anyway, and Velma is also 14, but I want to tell, Irma can tell you about the grant winner.
Well, good evening. So I'm Irma, and I am Vice President of Region 14, which includes St. Louis City and about 9 more school districts. And Hazelwood is one that's in my school district, and Shauna is a special SSD in Hazelwood. And so it's like the building that's hidden, because I go over there to the administration building every now and then I never knew it was sitting back there. And so we had an opportunity, Region 14, which is Velma Bailey, who is the MRTF new board member, went to the foundation to give the grant, $500 grant. And I'm just in Region 14 right now. And this is Diane Rome from Region 14. She's in legislative chair. And so now I'm going to start here. This is the past president. I think Nancy already done that, but I'm going to do it again. She's a very good friend. And so she is, her theme was the road trip. And so her administration is ending, so we probably still got some people like road trips on it. And so here we have John and Judith Cole. They're from Pattonville, and they've also been on the board and award winners, superintendents, and everything. So they're just like my my road dog. So then we have Pat over here, and Pat is really a travel agent, so she's there. And so then we have a board member, we have Sandra with us, and she is a board member for Region 8. We have 14 regions and 14 someone. So we had an opportunity to come there to Ackerman School and present Miss Shauna, is it Goldstein?
Yes.
Yeah, I got it right. Okay, with a $500 grant. And this is a big check. She has already received a small, and we want her to make sure she can get things to go in order, so she can get her room right and everything. She has a multi-sensory, hands-on project kit, which sounds very good, where you can just work at your own pace, and each kid can have their own kit, and then kind of like monitor themselves, and then you can monitor them too. So we just so excited when we presented this grant to her. And the other awardee was Jean Ann Goldstein. Her car broke down today, so she had car troubles, and it would be unconscionable for us to ask her to come through all this traffic. I just came through it too, and so she could not make it get off of work, but she has received her $500 grant. So we're going to make a presentation to 2 SSD schools, special school districts, because we love public schools. So we want
And we do this every single year. This money comes from retirees from all over the state of Missouri to our active teachers. We're paying it, or paying it forward, or wherever we're paying it. We have the funds that we raise throughout the year, the application is due in June. We read them and present them in August. So we do this every year. We just want you to know that. And we've been here before. You guys love us.
Yeah.
And thank you for having us. And
Before you leave, can we have them all come up so we can have a picture? I'm seeing you take pictures. You gotta get a picture too. Can we have everybody? So we get everybody's picture on this. I'm seeing you take a picture. I thought it'd be good if we get you all in.
Let me also mention John Cole is the MRTA State Distinguished Retiree. He was just honored.
Yes.
Yay, John. Our unit, we have the special school district.
Okay.
Suburban REA group, and our unit.
Where do you want us?
Supports special education teachers. And we also have a Patty Dean Memorial Grant. It's just for special education teachers in special school districts. So tell the people from Clark, we didn't get enough applicants this year to give even out some of our grants. So let people know, gonna get the word out, okay?
PR.
Have everybody look here and take with 2 different cameras.
And we can make sure that they all get a picture, because I'm guessing you all.
I hope they can see you in the background.
No,
Did I block you? Oh, my God. No? Oh, okay. I commanded mine, Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for letting us come.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for calling me back. Yes.
We have the backdrop set up.
Bye.
Next is public comment.
Don't follow me, we'll go out this way.
Okay.
Welcome to public school, special school district, St. Louis County, Board of Education. Up to 30 minutes of each Board of Education business meeting will be set aside to hear public comments. Board of Education values your input and thanks you for your comments. There are no comments today. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the agenda, please, for the next? So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Superintendent report. First one, HR Office of Employee Success and Engagement. Thank you.
Thank you. President, good evening, Board of Directors, Dr. Keenan. My name is Phil Wood. I'm the Chief People and Culture Officer for SSD, and I'm going to be presenting an update on the evolution of the Office of Employee Success and Engagement and introducing some strategic goals as well. Next slide, please. One of the things that we find is that you've got to make sure that you're very, very organized the busier you get. The busier you are, the more intentional you must be. And as you'll see, we've been very busy over the last 2 months. Next slide, please. Currently, we are to date, have completed 479 new employees processes, as well as 170 employee changes, so current employee changes. So in the course of 2.5 months, we've completed 670 original employment actions for the district. That's over 10% of our workforce. That also exceeds most of the employees for many of our partner districts. We dispersed 20 plus referral bonuses. We've instituted new medical benefits, and we've engaged in new processes within OESE, such as department-wide meetings, leadership meetings, and additional trainings. And also, we've collaborated with other departments like evaluation and accountability, because we really wanted to go deep in processing how we wanted to make sure that we were having the new positions come in and making sure that we had good pass-off between recruitment piece and the hiring piece and the retention piece. Next slide, please. Part of what we're also doing is looking at goals as well. And so we're going to be using survey data from this year and past years to establish some baseline data for us to work with. And we want to make sure that we're using the data consistently to inform all of our processes. So we want to look at reducing vacancies in critical positions by 5 to 7%, increase retention of paraprofessionals by 10%. We think this last piece is really important. We think it's very doable, especially after we get our recruitment team in place. I believe that we are working very hard to make sure that we have additional supports for paraprofessionals, and I will talk about some of that later on in this presentation. Next slide, please. One of the most critical pieces that has happened, I think, for our department is that we have Dr. Tonette Harris, who's our Assistant Director of Equity for HR, working very closely with us. She's been involved in many processes, meetings. She's currently looking at all of our initial recruitment documents, from how are we doing things like screening? What are our interview questions like? Are we making sure that we're not screening out based upon bias? She's also putting together more trainings for HR as well. She'll be working with Tracy Barroso, our Employee Relations Director, to have additional administrator trainings as we go into the big hiring season in the spring, because we want to make sure that our processes are going very well, that people feel welcome as well in our interview process, because that's part of our branding as well. People should be able to come into an interview and feel like they've been seen, heard, respected, and have the opportunity to show what is their best who's their best self when it comes to trying to work for SSD. She's been collaborating with the department on all processes. And again, she's going to be driving a lot of the processes that we're going to have around recruiting and retention, so that when we post, we're making sure that we're posting in ways that are inclusive. And so when we're screening, making sure that we are being as objective as possible. We're also looking at uses of some advanced AI for some of our screening purposes as well, in order to remove subjectivity. Next slide, please. One of the most exciting things that we're looking at is continuing to expand our benefits, both in terms of benefits that are going to be district paid, but also employee paid. We've brought on 3 new medical options, the hospital indemnity, critical illness, and accident plan. Think of it as like when you think about the Aflac commercials. We have plans that will help to provide some additional income if someone has a critical illness. We're also exploring things like pet insurance, which we mentioned before. We're also looking at instituting a new portion of B-SWIFT, which would actually walk employees through all of their medical options, but it would be specific to them. It wouldn't just ask you, do you want A or B? It would say, do you have a spouse? Do you have children? Do you have these medical conditions? And then it will walk them through that. We look to have that ready in the spring for any of our new hires, but definitely when we go into next year's open enrollment season. Also, we're looking at expanding the medical insurance, not only in terms of looking at changes to the high deductible plan, but also looking at additional options that would include a non-BJC network, which also drives down costs. So we're looking at potentially having 5 different tiers of medical insurance that's going to be available for our employees by next year. And we're looking at partnerships around health clinics, which would include a partnership with Parkway, I believe, Pattonville, and Francis Howell. It would allow our employees to have access to health services across the region, so they wouldn't necessarily have to just come to central office or anywhere near central office in order to make sure that they have additional access to medical care. And we're also looking at expanding things like issues regarding infertility, having the support there for that, and we continue to work with MMA to also try to be as, I would say, forward-thinking as possible, especially when we are looking at some of our peers outside of education as well. Next slide, please. In terms of other updated practices, we are looking at updating all of our recommendation forms and also looking at our email scripts for messages that go out to candidates, whether it's telling a candidate, please, hey, we're so happy that you're here. You're going to be moving on to the next round, or thank you so much for applying. At this time, you will not be moving forward, but we will keep your application on file. We are beginning more integration with the Power School Suite, and we've been working in connection and in great partnership with the technology department as well. And in employee relations, we've finally got our automated leave process off the ground. And again, we're looking at additional trainings that will support staff retention, but also making sure that our processes, both in terms of investigations and process hearings, are equitable. Next slide. What's next for the Office of Employee Success and Engagement? We're looking at continued Department of Professional Development. Our leadership team recently attended a Society of Human Resource Management Leadership Conference this past Friday. It was the first time that has happened for the department. And the team came back excited and also with a realization that there's a lot that we can still learn. And that's really exciting to see because they want to start pushing conversations, and that's what you want. You want employees that are happy, excited, and ready to start asking the questions, especially asking why are we doing processes now if we're not sure that they're the best processes, and also really breaking down ways in which we can continue to grow and learn and improve the things that we do. We're looking at exploring additional training for paraprofessionals around issues of equity, how best to work in diverse communities. We're looking at training bonuses also because we recognize that one of the things that makes a para so important for a classroom is that they're ready to fully and strongly support that teacher and children in that classroom. And also we want to establish pipelines for regional universities as part of our strategic recruitment plan, but also with professional organizations. We want to expand what we do from the recruitment side, not just thinking of ourselves as an educational institution, but human development. We've got to expand the way that we grow. Next slide. Any questions?
I have a question. Thank you very much for this presentation. It's really, I think what you're presenting here helps us really maintain kind of a leadership position in education, hiring. I am curious, on slide 7, you mentioned staff training to support retention. Do you mind sharing some examples of what those trainings might be?
So part of it is looking at how do we have processes around making sure that we're asking the right questions for employees that are seeking assistance around, their own career development. Making sure that we are talking to really leaders around simple things like this. Doing some trainings with leaders that have been through interview processes with internal applicants, and what is the follow-up with internal applicants? Because that says a lot. Like, is the person that was the hiring manager, am I able to talk to them about how I can grow? As opposed to telling someone, oh, you weren't the right fit. But also saying, no, next time, this is what we're going to do, is we're going to go through, and we're talking with hiring managers now about how to actually coach people that may not have been successful in the interview process, but could be successful if given the right.
Any other questions? I have questions. First of all, mostly on minor comments. First on the referral bonuses. I am thrilled to pay, come from me, say that I'm thrilled to pay money. I am, at least SSD's money, I am thrilled to pay out money for referral bonuses. This has worked?
We believe it has been pretty impactful, and we've seen an increase from last year in terms of referral bonuses.
Fantastic. I think these are some of the things that we instituted, that you instituted, that we approved. I think they've been really beneficial. Now, I have some comments on some of the stuff you're doing, okay? I love the idea of pet insurance. For an individual who's had dogs, and many times stray dogs, rescue dogs, animals are expensive. The option to have pet insurance is a fantastic deal. I don't know where you're going to get decent rates, but more power to you. The other thing that I had a comment on is on the computer-generated, the choices to determine the computers, to determine the type of insurance plan they're going to get. Will that be computer-generated when you go down a line, pick this, and this, and it makes a recommendation for you?
Right, so it's a part of an embedded platform that's already part of B-SWIFT. We just didn't purchase that platform. We'll be bringing that request later this year to the board.
I think this is an excellent idea, mainly because what happens is when people, I only speak from personal experience, I find I get overwhelmed when somebody starts telling me, as you're young out there, when you have a Medicare Advantage or a Medicare this, and they're laying out all your options, it's extremely confusing. I think this, to have a computer generated will be extremely helpful, because you could have a database concept of what to get.
Can I make a comment on that too? Reason we didn't have the B-SWIFT options around other insurance plans, or to walk people through it, is we didn't offer other insurance plans. So now that we worked over the last 2 years to get automated, so we could be able to offer additional plans, because before it was open enrollment, do you want our insurance or not? It was one offering, that was it. And so that's really what we're trying to explore, is how do we look at really identifying what is needed for our staff, but then we also have to start thinking about what is the overall cost. So we're going to try to make sure we're looking at that too for long term. But, yeah.
We've talked about cafeteria plans for our insurance for the last couple of years. This is one that's actually there. Thank you. The last thing that you had up on your slide you didn't mention, and I love the idea, the crisis team and differential. Individuals who are on a crisis team have had additional training. They get called into spots where they could get hurt. I think the idea of differential area is more than fair. And I am quite sure that you will have much support from the union for that.
Sure.
But I'm glad to see that. No. Made my day. So, thank you.
Mark it on the calendar.
I don't give out compliments quick. We'll know that.
Appreciate it.
All righty. Next, extended school year and summer program update.
Yes, good evening, Dr. Cuneo, Vice President Potroff, Dr. Keenan, and Board of Directors. I'm Wendy Pendergrass, Chief Academic Officer of Schools and Programs, and I will be summarizing tonight our experience with our ESY programs and the school programs that we offered this past summer. Next slide. Next slide. So I broke it down by the numbers of how many staff we hired. We hired about 1,081 staff. There was some areas that we still needed to partner with and have some contracts with, such as nursing for some of our students that needed one-on-one nursing. But we were able to keep a little over 1,000 people employed over the summer for our ESY program. Next slide. The next two slides are the numbers broke down in students that were eligible for ESY by district, and then also those students that attended ESY by district. You go to the next slide. Total, there was about 2,100 students that were eligible for ESY this year. Of that, 975 students attended. So about 46% of our students that are eligible attended ESY or summer programs. And then the next slide will be our schools.
Do you mind going back to this slide for just 1 second?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And then in our SSD schools and programs, of the 781 students eligible for ESY in our schools, programs, and purchase of service, we had about 510 students attend ESY, a little bit less when it comes to summer journey. So that was about 65% of the population that also attended ESY and summer programs, being a little lower. The next couple of slides shows basically the options this year. Instead of running and competing programs for summer journeys and ESY and summer programs, we partnered with our partner districts. We provide staff for our students that wanted to participate in our partner district programs, which allowed the schedules not to compete with each other. So that was the variety of schedules. As you see, some of the districts wrapped up in June, some of the districts went into July, some of the districts did both June and July. So we were busy the majority of the summer. Only a few schools that have the abstract did not offer any type of summer program. Of course, they offered ESY in the buildings that the students required, but they did not have any type of additional summer program. So some of the strengths in the partner districts that our families provided feedback on: transportation was a lot better this year. They loved the opportunity of ESY also partnering and that staff being available for students to participate in their summer programs. There was a lot of reading programs offered in a lot of our districts. The interactions with different peers from the ESY program and also to the summer program was beneficial. They also set some opportunities for different times, either earlier or later times for drop-up and pick-up. Some of our school programs, as you can see by the schedule, have different times that are not typically the same time that they go through during the year, so if there could be some flexibility. Possibly looking at more weeks offered, possibly looking at some opportunities for us to extend the day with before or after care. Communication is still another area that we really need to work on, making sure that we are communicating with our families early and ongoing. The catch-22 is some of our partner districts don't announce their dates until a little bit later into the spring. So although we could support them for ESY, summer programs are still something that we need to work with and get communication out to our families and our partner districts. Next slide. Very similar with the feedback. Times and days were great. They really, really loved in our SSD schools the thematic units that Summer Journey provided a different type of learning for our families. Transportation was a lot better. Teachers seemed to be helpful. We were able to hire a lot of our same staff that we had during the year. I'm almost guessing that was thank you to the Board of Education for raising those rates for summer. We still have some opportunities that we have for certain positions, but I do believe that helps. Communication, getting same information out to our families earlier of what's happening, why that's happening. I'm going to work with Jennifer and Henry in communications to see if there's something that we can do to get information out of ESY dates, get information out for summer dates, get information out earlier so parents are thinking about it probably once in the first semester and then several times in the second semester, just so they don't forget about it. Slide. Now, the bummer news is, we did only receive 254 responses from our family, and that is of the total, of the 2,100 in the partner districts and the 900 that were in the schools. So we're not receiving the best response for our families, so that's something that we want to look at moving forward. Do our families understand what ESY is? Do they understand the summer opportunities? Yeah, it's
12%.
yes, it's not a
You
very.
couldn't even, that you can't even draw from that.
No. So, I'm going to work with Dr. Kamisha Carter, the past president, to see, how we can partner with them a little bit differently to get more information out, maybe in different ways. I mean, other than the director's letters and the emails and the voice emails and the letters that go home with the families, and then the ESY, notifications when their students qualify for ESY. So we're just we really want to make sure that we get to our families the information that they need. Next slide. So some of the reasons that our families that did report said they needed a break from school. A lot of them don't want to have the same confrontations that they have during the school year. During the summer, they want to have a break from that, per se. There's a lot of competing activities. There's a lot of great camps that are happening in the area, which is good. Our vocational skills program, there's a lot of SWEP programs that are offered for some of our students where they actually could get paid. So we are competing against some other good summer programs. Lack of childcare for before and after school. Some of our families really like the consistency of staff that they have during the school year, and once they find out that their student may not have the same staff for the summer program, that's kind of a deal breaker. So there's some things that we can look into and see if we can't support some of the reasons why families are going. Next slide. The overall cost, $2,519,000. I have that broken down for what we paid for extended school year as a district, the amount that we paid for our summer programs, for both salaries and materials, and then the total costs. We were able to get some grant support with our ESSER funds, and I do believe we will be able to do that again next year as well. Next slide. So what we plan to do is, of course, continue to collaborate with our partner districts, see what other programs are offered for our students, see if we can't combine our ESY program and our summer program in the same building, work to get information out as early as possible with our families. Our families really did like the breakfast and lunch opportunity for our students during the summer, so definitely keeping that going. And like I said it earlier, really participate, maybe do a couple of presentations with PAC for our families to really understand what extended school year, what summer programs are out.
Compared to, we're going to ignore COVID because those numbers don't count. Pre-COVID year, so we had this year we had 46 attend the partner districts and 65% attend SSD schools. Compared to before the pandemic, are those about the normal percentages?
Typically, it was a little higher, not a lot. Typically, we have about 2/3 of the population that attend school. It did seem to be even lower this year. I was surprised of the attendance even on this past year.
Right. A lot of the, just FYI, a lot of the summer camps, on June 1st, they let everyone know, this is non-school camp, and March 1st, you got to get in. And so when you're waiting for the school, who waits till April, it's, you're like, well, why wait? I'm going to sign up for this while I can. So, yeah, we could have set dates and times, if nothing else, for our own schools. Mm-hmm. Earlier, when we're competing,
Any other questions? A quick question. Normandy. I am curious. When I look at the percentages, all the other percentages were about 50, some better than 50%. Normandy was less than 25% of those eligible attending. Why? I mean, that would have been one that I would have expected to be much, much higher.
Correct. Right.
And especially when you go back in the history of, you know, that they were unaccredited for a while and all the difficulties they had there. What can be done? I mean,
And that's what we're gonna have to work
they
on.
really, I mean, that's, if you want to talk about putting money where it would be most effective, or a special effort where it would be most effective, it would seem there. And yet that was the least. Can I have the record reflect Dr. Asner's here, so we have it on the years and the tummies? Thank you. Now, what do you think y'all should do with it?
Well,
You're aware of that.
Yes, absolutely, and Dr. Yates and I had a conversation, we were at a conference over the weekend just about some of the numbers and some of the things that we can do differently, not only for our students that qualify for ESY, for the amount of students that actually have transportation provided for them for ESY and can get there and get back, but really dive into what are the reasons in some of our areas, not just Normandy, but in some of our other areas that we don't have students attending. Really, what is it, what are the
I love
barriers?
your idea of when you put on there that you wanted to get the PAC involved in the PAC, doing this and that. Can we really push that in Normandy? I mean, that's the one that I would like to see elevated here.
Yes, sir.
Because of the additional problems that they had prior to this. Thank you.
I was just going to ask in your list of opportunities going forward. And the big ones I heard were, as Katie referenced, getting the information out sooner and probably in a more consistent fashion than was new to expected plan and new how to expect. Before and after care, aligning the schedule. Of those, what do you think is the lowest hanging fruit? And what do you think would be more challenging? Where should we focus in terms of what we can have the biggest impact?
I think what would be the biggest impact would possibly be aligning our schedules a little bit differently, offering that time a little bit before and a little bit after. I think the most difficult will be the before and after care. Some of so typically in our partner districts and in our schools, the YMCA is the one that offers our before and after care along with some of the other agencies. Once summer comes, what happens is YMCA starts offering camps. So the opportunities for them to have enough staff to run their camps, which a lot of them had to get canceled this year, and then also have the opportunity of having some type of before or after care program, I think will be the most difficult to get going. But the schedules, the collaboration with schedules, the collaboration with possibly what time would be best for an elementary program possibly to start in middle school and in a high school, I think that would be probably something that we could have some success with.
One more quick question I forgot before. The buses, just like during the school year, it's door to door, your front door to the school door.
Curb to curb, yes, ma'am. Yes, yep, yep,
Okay, just wanted to.
yes.
One
Yes.
quick question. What's Best Buddy?
Best
I
Buddies,
should know that, but I don't.
yes, Best Buddies is a program that, I would say about 5, maybe 8 years ago, is a general education initiative where they team students that are typically developing with students that will receive some type of special education services. There's a lot of activities. It's very heavily based in the students and the partner districts. A lot of, like St. Joe's does the A+ program, they offer it through the A+ program where they have hours where they have students that team up and befriend individuals, and then they have activities, goes to games, conferences, stuff like that.
Thank you. Any other questions? Next. Schools COVID mitigation plan updates. Is this still mandated that you have a?
We'll talk about it.
Pardon?
We'll talk about it.
We're fine if we don't.
Well, fine if we don't.
So good evening, President Cuneo, Vice President Potsrow, Board of Directors, Dr. Keenan, Kevin Annard, Executive Director of Career and Technical Education, and with me is Dr. Kelly Brixby, Executive Director of Schools and Programs. We will be giving hopefully what's going to be our last in a long time schools COVID mitigation plan update. Next slide. So just as a reminder, our priorities as a district, number one, first and foremost, is the health and safety of our students, our staff, and our visitors to our schools and programs. Second is creating an environment where students are able to learn. And then third is complying with state, local, and federal laws. There have been a little bit of movement with state, local, and federal laws in the last few months, and so as far as us coming back on a recurring basis to present this information, it's no longer necessary for us to come every single month and share this. Hopefully, this is the last one of these that we give for a good long while. Next slide. Just as a reminder, current provisions that exist within the SSD plan were mask optional. We are not contact tracing or quarantining at this time. However, if there were high levels of community transmission, that is something that the superintendent could choose to institute. We're just not there at this point. And then the full plan is available on the SSD website. Next slide. Just as a reminder, one thing we told you in the summer was we were going to continue to have our COVID dashboard be live, where we're tracking positivity that exists within our buildings, both students and staff, that is reported to us. So this is a snapshot of what that dashboard looked like on September 9th when this presentation was put together, but it does update in real time. So as we receive additional positive cases, those numbers would move. We find this is a helpful tool for staff and families, especially if they're one of those families trying to decide, do I want my student to wear a mask? Do I not want my student to wear a mask? This is just one more piece of data that the family can use as a part of their decision-making process, and this is something we'll continue to keep live. Next slide.
So when we came to you this summer to propose mask optional, you asked us to come back and give you an update to let you know how it was going and if we received any feedback. So we have not seen an increase in COVID rates in our schools as a result of being mask optional. We have some schools that have had pockets here and there, but for the most part, we have been able to keep students and staff in school working. In the cases where we did have a couple of our lower staff numbered programs, we were able to have support from other schools come in to support the students so they were able to come to school. We are continuing to see staff return after their 5th day with masks, so they are coming back to work at a faster rate than they were previously with that 5-day option. And again, I just mentioned that we were able to pull staff to support other schools where we've had a little bit of a pocket of COVID. Next slide, please. With regards to feedback on mask optional, all the feedback we've received is positive. Staff and students who want to wear masks continue to wear masks. Those that don't. And we have not received any negative feedback from them. We're also seeing an overall consistency, especially in the tech schools where we share students, that it is similar to what they're doing in the partner district. So that consistency has been helpful as well. Next slide. Do you have any questions for us?
I'm impressed that you have not had any complaints. That is fantastic.
About masks.
No, that is fantastic.
Thank you.
All righty. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the consensual items? Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action items. Following items were approved on the executive meeting on September 16, 2022. Employment resignations, retirement salary adjustments, extra duty pay, contract release requests, and settlement authority. Now, would someone like to make a motion for a closed meeting of the Board of Education for September 27, 2022, and October 11, 2022, at 7 p.m. I'll give you the following. Okay, 8.01. Substitute teacher retiree, substitute teacher, reverse substitute, retired substitute teacher, substitute teacher administrative assistant aide, retiree substitute teacher assistant aide hourly rate pay increase. Is there a motion to accept this?
So we bring in this recommendation because we've seen what's what we best call right now, amongst my colleagues in HR, a bidding war, with, sub-pay. Two districts in particular, have created the largest increase so far. That's been Hazelwood and Ferguson Florissant. Both of them are at $200 a day for, regular, sub-rates.
Whoa.
So this would raise sub-rates for SSD, to $187 per day. And then we also increased our long-term rates to $30 an hour. Part of this is not only because of that competition, but also because we want to incentivize more to make sure that we can get better fill rates, because right now our fill rates with Kelly are at best 50% of our SSD needs for substitutes.
What do you think our fill rates will be if we increase it this?
I think that we could look at an improvement to at least 60–65%, which would be, from an operational standpoint, would be really significant to improve services for our students.
I assume that we've talked to those two districts and gotten the rationale for their particular efforts.
Yes, in fact, we were informed of that at a MOASPA meeting 2 weeks ago. And in fact, the Hazelwood Assistant Super apologized as he was announcing it. And then the Ferguson Florissant Assistant Super of HR announced it as well. Ferguson Florissant in particular has felt that their fill rates have been really, really low this year, way below, actually, when they look back 5 years, the longitudinal data, they're way, way off where they have been historically.
I'm just curious, do they have any rationale for that, any reasoning why that's?
They did not provide one.
Okay, I was just curious, I'm not disagreeing on it, I was just wondering why.
Those two districts also have higher rates of vacancies.
Period.
So, yeah, and that's really, we want them to get substitute teachers in there because that does affect how our staff are being supported. A lot of it's been pushed back onto our staff, SSD staff members, so that's why they're just, it's really because, I mean, in some cases, a third of their staff vacancies are still there.
No, it's just, do you think this is the aftermath of COVID or what? I'm trying to figure out why this is occurring.
I think there's been struggles historically in that district prior to this year with staffing vacancies. I think that, Hazelwood, for instance, they could fill almost 45 of their middle school positions across the district, so they just decided to go to a virtual option now for those classes. And, as of July 1 at least, I know that Ferguson Florissant was sitting at about 39% teacher vacancy rates for their.
When you look at the data, kids that have been taught virtually, as opposed to having a teacher in place, there's no comparison.
There is none, nationally.
No, nationally. I looked at the national side. There's no comparison. Many times kids have lost a year. Thank you. Any other? Need a vote on this. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now I go to the closed meeting. Closed meeting, would someone like to make a motion for the closed meeting of the Board of Education for September 27, 2022, and October 11, 2022, at 7 p.m. or when this meeting ends, the business meeting ends.
Second.
I need a roll call on this one.
Director Asner?
Yes.
Director Byers? Yes. Director Faulkner?
Yes.
Director Mueller?
Yes.
Vice President Petrov? Yes. And President Cuneo?
Yes. Someone like to make a motion for approval of our past minutes?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Board regulations, we can read. Executive meeting action items. Anyone have any board communications that they'd like to say? Calendar of events we can read. Okay, I hate to say this now that Dr. Asner's here. Would someone like to make a motion to adjourn? He's going to have somebody, he may say that he doesn't want to adjourn.
I'll make.
So moved.
No, if you make the motion, you have to agree. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Let's take 5 minutes and then go to executive.